What are you doing? What are you doing, baby girl? Okay, guys. So we got I don't know. One of the neat things about being I guess so public is you get I guess a lot of opportunity to get the real scoop and story on things. Um, so hi, honey. So I got a bomb to drop on you guys, and it's kind of in a good way. I got a story to tell you, and it's sad, it's tragic, but it's in some ways a lot better than the original story. I've got the true story of Buggy. Her original owner reached out to me, and I don't know how many of you guys remember the story. I know, baby. Um, but the story that I was told, and before I go anywhere, at no point am I condemning any story that anybody's told me. But you know how things happen when I don't know, when you got to fill in the blanks yourself, and you know things get passed from one person to the next. Sometimes they get exaggerated a little bit, or done in the perception of the person telling the story. So, you know, this isn't to discredit anything that's already been told to me by anybody, but I actually got to speak with Buggy's original owner. She reached out to me through Instagram. And, you know, this is one of the neat things that I love having of all these social medias and all this exposure, because I can, situations like this can arise. Now, this is the third time where I've actually been able to figure out and find out the original story that I was misled on. First one was Kiki, or her name was Penny, but her real name is Kiki. Second one was Angel and AJ. I don't know how many of you guys remember that. And then the third one here is now Buggy, and I think this is the most compelling story. So jumping right into it, Buggy was brought to me. It was told to me that, you know, she was rescued from a girl living out of her car, and that they thought that the girl's boyfriend had abused both the girl and the dog, which we always were confused. I'm sorry, can we show her real quick? This little girl just ate and decides now that she's going to go over there and eat food out of the bowl. I think she's doing good. Go Sapphire! You can't, I don't know, I guess she likes dry food. But isn't that great to see her walking? Anyway, so, you know, so that was the story that I was told, that Buggy was abused by a guy. And it always bothered me. A couple things bothered me. Number one, it bothered me that if she was really abused by a guy, how did she take to me so quickly? And number two, you know, Connie's a rather small frame of a person. She's a sweetheart. And yet Buggy really had this, I don't want to say fear, more of a disdain, more of an anger towards her. And I'll explain that better later. So anyway, this girl reaches out to me, and 3 or 4 long, really long, well thought out, well written paragraphs in Messenger, complete with numerous pictures. So there's no doubt in my mind this is Buggy. And there's also no doubt in my mind that this girl absolutely adored Buggy. You know, so this girl at the time when this all went down, she had just graduated high school. She was still a kid, a teenager. And backing up a little further to her acquisition of Buggy, Buggy was 1.5 years when she came to them. And her family had just gotten separated, mom and dad. Apparently their house burned down. Like, you know, this family is up against it. And so the new stepmom coming in wanted a new dog. And she found a Chihuahua on Craigslist. She goes to the place and she meets Buggy, which was not the dog she was looking at. And it turns out that, you know, she just had to have Buggy, and Buggy comes home. Well, Buggy does her typical thing. Buggy didn't connect with anybody. She was terrified, she was fearful, and stepmom just said, and gave up on her. Well, this young lady here who had Buggy, she didn't. She said Buggy was, and I know this situation all too well because I went through this with Chi Chi. Buggy was behind the toilet and wouldn't come out. And she said it took her 3 days to gain Buggy's trust. And once she finally did, Buggy became her dog, and Buggy went with her everywhere. And again, I've seen pictures not just of Buggy, but every step along this way of this story, just showing the love and the affection. So how did we get to where we're at? So because the house burning down, they end up moving into their cousin's house. And then, of course, how did Buggy get in her condition that she's in? Because the pictures I saw, you know, there was a couple pictures where, wow, there's Buggy when she had real legs. Beep, beep, beep. Harley, let her in, honey. So, anyway, help me focus.
Sorry.
I'll sit there and watch them all day, too.
I'm just happy. It's been a while.
So, apparently they moved in with her cousins. And I don't know if she's the oldest of family, but she does have a younger brother. And she has younger cousins. And so one day she borrowed the car
Put
to
your
run
knees
into
down.
town and get some stuff. What?
Put your knees down.
Run into town to get some things, and um, she's gone for a couple hours. She comes home. She can't find Buggy. Now let me back up here. The cousins, they're not being malicious, but they're young kids. They want to get Buggy to play, and of course, what happens when you want to get a dog to play that's scared? The dog runs away. And if you're young enough and rambunctious enough, you're going to follow and make the matters worse as a kid. I mean, it's just it's human nature. You've seen it happen all the time. Where you got to grab a kid and say, "Hey, stop, leave her alone. She's scared." Well, if they're not constantly in supervision, kids are going to try to play and so forth. So one day she goes out and she's gone for a couple hours getting stuff for whatever reason. She comes home and Buggy's completely gone. She looks all over the house. She calls for her. She asks the people that were there. Nobody's seen her. She's terrified. She borrows the car again. She goes out. She spent hours apparently looking all up and down the town looking for her. Couldn't find her anywhere. Broken hearted, comes home. She's crying. And while she's actually, I got to talk to her on the phone about this just yesterday. And while she's telling me, there was numerous points in this conversation where she was breaking down and crying, and it's legit, guys. This is everything I'm telling you is I believe it to be, if not 100% true, damn near 100% true. Just based on the emotion and the repetitiveness of the conversation and the points that she hit on and other things that I'll explain a little later on. And she can't find her. She goes to bed that night. She's brokenhearted. The next morning she gets up. Her sister comes and grabs her and says, "You got to see this." And she comes downstairs and she pulls her out on the back porch. Buggy's on the back porch. Buggy's a mess. She's her legs are just destroyed. And what would cause this? Well, it turns out that I guess the truth comes out with kids. While she was gone, the kids went to try to play with her again. They were chasing her through the house. There was an open window on the second story, and out of fear, Buggy jumped out the window to get away and came down, obviously, more than 10, 12 feet onto the ground. And you want to find a clear-cut bad guy in this situation, but you can't. Kids are being kids. They're not being malicious. They were wrong. And yeah, you could say, well, the parental supervision wasn't there, but what if the parents were just out back or something? Kids can't be left alone for 5. I mean, how kids are nowadays. They're fucking hellions, and it's like given everything, and there's no discipline. But sorry.
Off topic.
But yeah, but I mean, it's not a terrible. It's not this mean, terrible person. So anyway, she gets Buggy. Nobody's going to help her financially. Remember, high school student. She's doesn't have any money. Everybody told her to put her down. She refused to. She would not let her go. It took her a couple weeks, from my understanding, and if I'm off a little bit about this, I only got the story once, so forgive me. This is my interpretation. She took a couple weeks, and she actually found somebody willing to help her out and do the best they could. So I've got pictures of her in her splints and her casts, and fast forward, unfortunately it wasn't the greatest work, but again, the guy, out of the goodness of his heart, did everything he could. So here we are, and I told her not to feel like she's beating herself up over not being able to do the proper surgeries and all that back then. She's like, I did the best I could, and I'm thinking to myself, this poor girl's a hero. She wouldn't let her go. She stood by her side, and then on top of it, she found somebody who's also a hero, who did everything they could. It might not be the best, and it's certainly complicated by how delicate Buggy is and how long her legs are, but Buggy's here because of that, no matter how traumatic it's been. And I even told her, I said, look, I've got finances at my back to be able to do these kind of things, and I'm even having trouble. We're going back for more surgeries, and at this point, like, it's starting to get desperate, as to what is the right move for her, moving forward. So, and again, the whole time she's in tears. Now, she, at that point, something's going on with her and her stepmom. They're not getting along. You know how typical independent teens, and then a new person comes in, and there's not that bond, and there's probably resentment towards the old spouse and all that shit. I've been through all this myself in every aspect you can think of. I've been the stepkid, the real kid, the stepdad, the real dad. I've been through the whole thing. So I've witnessed all this stuff happen. So her story is ringing true to me. So something goes down to where she's got to get out. She's got a new boyfriend. She's got to get out of the house, not in weeks, not in days. She's got to get out in hours, which explains why the car was packed up to the roof. So she leaves. The story about the boyfriend abusing and everything, not only was she on the phone defending this, but the new boyfriend, who should have every right in the world to hate this guy because that's the ex-boyfriend, was also defending this, that the guy never hurt her, he never hurt Buggy. Buggy was definitely scared of him like everybody else, and he actually was hurt because of that, but he never laid a hand on Buggy. And honestly, to this day, this gentleman, whoever he was, he's passed away. He died last year somehow. So, then you add that to the equation. But so her and her boyfriend, they move out. They're trying to move into this new. Well, she got kicked out. They're trying to move into this new place. It's taken forever to get it ready, like over a month to get the final paint and stuff, whatever it was. She's living out of her car. They're living out of her car. Obviously, Buggy's health starts to deteriorate a little bit because Buggy, while they're doing stuff and working, is staying in the garage where she was living. But the garage is hot. It's summertime. It's not fair to Buggy. And finally, she makes the decision to do what's best for Buggy, and she tries to find a good home for her, and she puts her on Craigslist to sell her. That's where in steps, the lady that I got her from, really nice lady, and she did the right thing. She sees a woman in her car, dog's all beat up, emaciated. What's the first thing you want to do? You want to call the cops on the girl. But she listened to her story, and I guess she put it together as best she could in her mind to understand it, to justify it, and instead she listened and she helped take Buggy. But she also told this girl that she could see Buggy whenever she wanted to, because she told a lady that, like, she's not trying to get rid of her, but she'd like to know what happens to her. She'd like to stay in touch. And every time she called, they would not respond to her. So I understand both sides of that. Nobody's at fault here. Again, it's just a tragic thing. And then she breaks down and tells me, what happened to Buggy's legs is terrible, but Buggy was her rock. Buggy saved her from all these situations. I'm telling you, a house burning down, living with cousins, getting kicked out, like the not being able to move into a place, having to lose, like, go through everything with Buggy. Like, there's been so much drama that I'm sure I don't even know the whole thing in her young life that just breaks your heart. And she's, again, breaking down crying to me, saying, like, Buggy saved her life so many times. And she's even got a tattoo, both of her name and of her face, on her arm. Now, if that's somebody that's beating or allowing their dog to get beat, I don't see going through that extent of dedication and connection to somebody. So where we're going on this, she didn't even reach out to me to set the record straight or anything like that. She just wanted to know how Buggy was doing, and she was so grateful that she found me. And then, of course, she wanted to tell me the real story. And she, I was very blunt in my messages to her at first. I wasn't friendly. I wasn't mean. I wasn't friendly. I was very direct. I said, yeah, I'd like to know. I want to get to the bottom of this. Why did this happen? What did this happen? This is what I heard. And then when we got on the phone, I was the same way. And, her story didn't change one bit. She didn't dodge or avoid any single question I asked, no matter how difficult and straightforward they were. I was very impressed for somebody such a young age. So the end of this is I got a bunch of beautiful pictures of Buggy before, and she's going to send me more. But so that's the real story of how Buggy came to me. Now, she has one request, and I've thought it over very hard, and I'm going to grant it. I'm going to get together with her and her boyfriend sometime in the near future, and we're gonna have lunch together, and I'm gonna bring Buggy. And I think I'm doing this for several reasons. Number one, I think this is gonna help bring her, this girl who's been through so much, I think it's gonna bring her a lot of closure, to see her Buggy again, to know that she's safe, to know that she's cared for. Secondly, I'm curious from a scientific, from a educational standpoint. I want to see for myself how Buggy reacts to this. Now, just so you guys know, I'm going to be very clear about this. I explained it to her, very directly. There's no chance Buggy's going back to her. Even if the story was great and everything like that, and Buggy wasn't close to me, the point is she's still a very young person. Buggy needs a lot of medical attention moving forward, and she understands too. She can't afford to do that. So what's best for Buggy, especially after, again, being through at least 5 owners, where she was born, given to the people that her stepmom found her from, her and her stepmom, the lady that rescued her, and now me. In 4 years of life, she's been in 5 different homes. That's it. That's what I do. Like, she's come to me. It's not changing. She's here for the rest of her life. She's going to have a place to live and a place to stay. And then the third thing that I'm really curious to see, that I haven't mentioned to you guys yet, is, you guys know at the beginning I said Buggy has almost like this hatred towards Connie. She'll let her pet her. She's not afraid of her. She doesn't run from her. But anytime she comes in my room, and I always thought it was protection about me or the room itself, but Buggy barks at her and almost goes at her. She never really tries to bite her. Like, if I Connie would say, okay, fine, bite me and get it over with. Because, Connie's gotten frustrated as much as she tries. But it's just been something a little weird. It's not fear like you would normally think, like she's afraid of everybody else. It's kind of like, I'm mad at you. Well, in these pictures that this young lady sent me, and Connie mentioned this. She says, I wonder if I look anything like her. This girl sends me pictures. She's very small frame. She's actually wearing a prom dress in one picture, a strapless prom dress. You can see how small across the top she is. She's got long brown hair pulled up, glasses. Like she looks like Connie 10 years ago. Almost a spinning image. So to me, I'm almost wondering, like, this girl wasn't there when Buggy fell out or jumped out the window and hurt herself. You know, she wasn't there when, being stuck in the garage for all those days. And then all of a sudden she's turned around and gone. I wonder if Connie coming into her life almost makes her think that, hey, this is some cheap replica of what I used to have. You're not my mom. I don't believe you. I'm not trusting you. You're not. Or she could be looking at Connie like she resembles her so much that she actually holds resentment to her former owner because of those things. Like, there's so much I'm thinking about. Are you really going to do that? There's so much I'm thinking about that I just want to get to know from this situation. But at the end of the day, we now know Buggy's story. We can hold our hearts a little less heavy, knowing that there's not this malicious son of a bitch out there purposely breaking dogs' legs, or that she allowed somebody to do it or did it herself. There's an unfortunate set of circumstances that caused this. And at the end, I think, reuniting her for that moment. And I tell her, like anybody that's had to relinquish an animal to me, because not all my dogs come from a shelter situation. There's been situations where a person had to, or I found them on Craigslist. And I told her, like I told everybody else, she's got my phone number. She's following the page so she can see Buggy whenever she wants. And you know what? If I haven't posted her in enough time, she misses her Buggy, get a hold of me. I'll get you a shot right then and there and send you pictures. So I'll stay in touch with her, always letting her know, even before you guys, how Buggy's doing, any updates and everything like that. And I think that would be good closure for her from such a bad situation and all the shit she's gone through. And I'm hoping I'm curious to see what it does with Buggy. I don't think we're going to traumatize Buggy by doing this. I think
It might give her closure.
I think it might give Buggy closure as well. Like, she can see her again, but now she's in good hands, so she shouldn't have to resent her anymore, because she might feel that she's a part of this too now. So anyway, that's the story of my little Buggy here. It's very fascinating. I'm glad I found out the truth behind this, because
You should see the look she's giving me.
because like I said, it gives me a little bit more hope for humanity in these horrible stories that we make up, fabricate, or again, just through the chain of the rumor mill, including myself. You just kind of tell it from your perspective, and it just gets worse and worse. So this is a good thing. So stay tuned. I'll let you guys know, and we'll take pictures from that lunch date if they'll allow, and I'll keep you guys updated. Thanks.